A supernatural story that is a disturbing examination of entitlement, toxic relationships, limerence, and obsession, and the consequences of trying to control one's feelings. All that packs into what is now the most talked about horror movie of 2026 and possibly one of the most talked about horror movies of the decade. Hi, I'm Bobby Munson, and beside me, it's the natural Astrid Bizarro. You've landed on Killer Cuts podcast. We're happy that you could join us here for our Obsession review. Astrid, how are you doing today?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, especially with horror doing so darn well right now, especially this one. I know we've been chatting offline back and forth about Obsession. I saw it opening weekend. I believe you saw it the weekend following. We finally found the time to get together to talk about this one. And there's a lot to talk about in so many positive ways. I always love watching the success of horror movies. I love watching the success of horror movies that are maybe a different story as well, too. You can make the argument with Obsession that maybe it follows the same kind of plot line as the Monkey's Paw from way back in the day, but it's so far removed from that and so different in its own way, and the performances are completely different that it stands on its own. This is what I think the world needs right now currently in terms of movies is original ideas. And we've got a couple of them in theaters right now, which are doing really well. But Obsession is doing extremely well. It keeps knocking down all the big summer blockbusters, which is absolutely mind-boggling for a movie that only cost $750,000 to put this thing together. Now, before we break down, bit by bit about this whole thing, for those of you who, if you're one of the very few people on this planet who has not seen and or heard of this movie yet, movie follows a guy by the name of Bear. He's kind of a shy, bit of a nerdy loner type. He's got some friends. He's an employee at a music store, and he has this friend, Nikki, and she's been his friend for years, but he's always wanted things to be a little bit more than that, where she doesn't see it going in that same way. Now, this is when Bear comes across a store that is selling these. I'm trying to find where my notes are. I can't remember. The One Wish Willow. That's the one he comes across. That apparently, once you break it and make any wish, that wish will come true. We've seen that kind of plot before. People, get things granted that they shouldn't have been granted. Careful what you wish for is always the argument. But what I wished for was a solid horror movie, and that's exactly what we got. So, starting from there, Astrid, your thoughts going into this movie and thoughts coming out of it as well, too.
I mean, it's one of those that I had a lot of high hopes coming into it because of what I had seen online from it. To the point that the weekend I wanted to watch it with my boyfriend, we couldn't find seats, and they were either in the front or no seats available. So we had to wait one more week to watch it. And so we're kind of late for the review. I couldn't watch it on time, and I'm like, I didn't realize how popular I've gone, and I'll get them props to the marketing team as well. The way they're marketing and promoting this movie, whether it's with the text messages and how they start going and getting more addicting, I guess, as time goes by, getting text messages from Nikki, as it is from the promotion of the movie here, and seeing even after the movie all the like interviews that I've seen with the cast so far, and how people basically interpret the movie in so many different ways. And that's why I feel is the greatest thing about this movie for me is so far is the fact that I watched this movie and I went out thinking one thing, and then I see online people saying, "Oh, what I think this was happening in this scene," and I didn't think about it that way they did, and it just opened my eyes to something different. And I was like, "It's so incredible how we all see it in such a different way and interpret this." And I love being able to go into this movie one way and coming out a different way from it. The part that made me laugh the most is the people that thought that Bear was actually innocent at the end of the movie. Come on, people, really, really. No, we need to have a chat
Well,
after this if you think that way.
yeah. Well, here's the interesting thing. Michael Johnson, who plays Bear in this movie, and that is one of the divisive things. People have been back and forth about how they feel by the end of it, whether you feel he's
Mm.
innocent or not.
Yeah.
I think the reason that some people might make that argument why they're feeling it is because of the acting done here and how relatable he becomes. And anybody who's maybe felt like they were in this position where, there was somebody that they felt there was more there, in terms of a
Mhm.
relationship and all this kind of stuff. And that image of what they feel could be if they were given the opportunity for that person to feel the same way
Mm-hmm.
about them. He does a great job of relating that. And because so many people can relate to that human aspect of him, I think that's what draws him in. Yet at the same time, he throws all of that away by putting his friend into this situation, making her something she is
Mm-hmm.
not, and completely ruining everything that makes her her own true self. Now, we can talk
Mm-hmm.
about how good his performance is, but this movie would not be as good as it is with, and help me with this pronunciation. It's Indy Navarrete. I hope I pronounced that correctly, that plays
Navar-
Nikki in this movie.
it should be Navarrete.
Navarrete. Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
She is one of the
Mm-hmm.
most standout performances in a horror movie, or just like we've seen some
Yeah.
great horror movie performances in the last little while,
Mm-hmm.
including, seeing Demi Moore in The Substance actually go up for awards and win awards for her
Yeah.
performance. I want to make the argument that I see this being the type of level of acting that can make that happen
Mm-hmm.
again. If you
Yeah.
want to make the awards people think, you have to have performances like this. And the performances don't have to be something that necessarily makes you sad or it's dramatic like you see in some of the films that tend to get the most attention. This one is in a way that it's unsettling. It's the way she looks
Mm-hmm.
at the camera. It's
Mm-hmm.
those moments. There was points in time I sat there going, this feels as disturbing in the way that at the end of the movie Pearl, when you see Mia Goth and the credits rolling and she's just got that tiny tear trickling down her cheek and that big smile on her face, was so disturbing in its own way. And I feel that the performance here is exactly in that same vein. Nothing has to
Mm-hmm.
be necessarily violent or gory or disturbing in order to get your attention. Is that performance and that unease that she does throughout this entire movie that really makes this a breakout performance for her.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I One thing that I loved about her, especially in the movie, is her facial expressions too, and the fact that she's not afraid to look a certain way to make us feel that certain way in these scenes. I remember watching a clip from the behind the scenes of the moment that she's standing there when he's leaving to work, and she's standing in the living room, and that smile that she has, and they're like, "Smile, don't blink," and then she does it like a big smile, and they're like, keep smiling," and they tell her to hold it right there, keep squinting, and the way she looks, with the direction she's getting is so eerie, and it's just incredible the way she makes you look. And I love the fact that she's doing this in the interviews with the cast when it's so hard to promote the movie as well. I saw one that there's a competition between all four of them. Not Basically five, I believe it was all five of them. To see who would not blink, and she wouldn't blink compared to everybody else, and she could beat all of them too. So it's just fun things like that that I can see with her, and I like the fact that so many people are opening their eyes to her now because of this performance. I hadn't realized until I saw later. I had already seen her in Superman and Lois, so I had already been introduced to her without even knowing it. But seeing this, I was like, it's such a different person that I can't even compare the performances because it's so different from what she's doing in the movie here. And her performance is just, she knocked it out of the park. She really did. There's no other way to describe it. She did really well. I can't picture anybody else doing Nikki now because of her in that performance either. Like her facial expressions, and I would say even like kind of like the way she moves in certain scenes too. I feel like I don't think anybody could have been able to do that kind of like awkwardness the way she did, if that makes sense.
100% makes sense. Another person who has a breakout in this movie isn't on the performance side, but on the person who brought this to light, Curry Barker, who directed this film,
Mhm.
known for being a YouTuber. That's the interesting point here, is that now this is becoming a big thing with YouTubers getting the opportunity to make movies. We've seen it numerous times in the horror genre now, starting to become a much bigger thing. And those visions are really helping, I think, in order to bring
Mhm.
you know a, a new light to the horror genre. I thought someone said it best when they said, when watching this or watching the Backrooms or some of the horror movies that have come out, especially being done by these young writer directors, is that horror is in great hands with Gen Z right now. It's clear that they have got a great vision for where horror movies should be going, and it is doing well at the box office as a result, and it's great to see. Now, Curry Barker, from there, went on to direct the indie film Milk and Cereal, which was also another film that a lot of people have talked very highly about. I have to go and check it out myself. But this particular movie is now getting a lot of people saying that Curry Barker is one to watch in the horror genre, whether Curry Barker's interest is to stay making horror movies or to branch out into other things. That's yet to be seen. But I'm very curious to see more from this young director moving forward.
Yeah, there's something that I what I love about this is that even though it's kind of we know that story about the nerd kid being in love with the girl that he doesn't think is in love with him, but the twist of the One Wish Willow and how it affects not only Bear and Nikki but everybody else around them is what makes this stand out from other movies here. And I really love that creativity as a part of it. And it's one of those movies that I see people talking back and forth whether because of a quote from a recent interview asking whether there should be a sequel to this movie. And I just keep thinking it's like this is one of those that I think is a one and done. I don't think you need a sequel for this movie. The You're gonna try to replicate it and it's not gonna be or look the same, and I feel people are gonna start comparing it to this one, and definitely won't be the same. Um, I think I would have liked a little bit more backstory in the One Wish Willow, but I feel like that doesn't really give you a purpose for another movie there, though. That's another thing. I like also having the intrigue from the One Wish Willow and how it affected this whole situation, if it happened to anybody else either, with a different wish. But I, at the same time, as much as I like to have those questions, I don't want them answered. I feel like I'd rather have that mystery at the end of the story in itself and keep it the way it looks here. And yeah, I'm like, you had the movie. It's a great success. I might take that money to and make another movie, like another original movie, that if you can, because it's one thing that makes it stand out is how it's still original in the end.
I 100% agree that it doesn't need a sequel, but like all horror, as soon as something is successful and money making, they're going to make a
Yeah.
sequel and they will Blair Witch Book of Shadows this thing before they know it and destroy the entire idea of it. Um, the only way I could see it working, and I wouldn't necessarily go down the same path, I wouldn't even necessarily call it Obsession 2, but the shop where the One Wish Willow is found could become a
Mhm.
central hub for other items being found, other things that grant things or
Mhm.
bring different supernatural things in the lives of others. And I wouldn't make it the same. I wouldn't make it a wish. I would make it something completely different with different people
Mhm.
involved. And that's how I would go about it. Maybe that's not what the general audiences are looking for, but I think that you can tell a better story that way. If you really just go rinse and repeat this thing, I think you're going to have a failure on your hand. And if you try to go too outside the box, like my comparison with the Blair Witch when they went to Book of Shadows, the Blair Witch 2, you're really just going to alienate the audience that loved what this was in the first place, kind of thing. So, again, they're even trying to reboot the Blair Witch for another time right now, and I keep saying to myself, why are you beating a dead horse? Like, this is something in the first place that never needed that sequel. You've never been able to do that
Mhm.
sequel right, so why do harm to something that is so cherished? And this will be cherished. This is going to be a very well cherished movie. Why ruin it that way? I feel that it's a complete and unnecessary thing, but of course we know movie studios, and that's what they love to do. They love making horror movie after horror movie, and being who we are, let's not kid ourselves, we're still going to go watch the sequel to this movie.
Yeah, definitely. We have to talk about it later when it happens.
For sure. Now you brought it up before because it is dividing audiences about who the real monster, I guess, if you're going to call somebody a monster in this, is, whether it's Nikki or is it Bear. And while Nikki's behavior is completely over the top and out of control at times, her complete will and identity was taken away from her. There is no
Mhm.
consent, and without consent, there is no true, real love, so to speak. I would guess is my view on this whole thing, which makes Bear the true horrible person at the end of the day. So I'm with you on that. I'm 100% with you on that. But the fact that in 2026 we can have a horror movie that's got audiences talking enough to have those debates, and at least they're debates
Mhm.
enough that they can sit down, they're talking about it, and it's forcing them back to the theater, because every single
Mhm.
weekend this movie's picking up extra momentum and toppling all these other films. And that's through word of mouth. It's not through extra promotion on TV or anything of the sorts. This is through total word of mouth and this whole debate going online. And I love seeing that. I love that a movie can make that kind of a narrative enough that people will actually sit down and have a conversation about it. At the end of the day, anybody who says that Nikki's at the fault here is completely wrong, but that's my opinion, and I'm guessing yours as well too.
Yeah, especially because I thought about it this way while watching the movie is Bear has that one wish that he wants Nikki to fall in love with him. Understandable. You want that person that you feel like you could connect with you, fall in love with you, because that's not a promise in life. And to me is the fact that the one wish that he has cost not only his life but somebody else's life too, because there's a lot of people that were basically sacrificed on behalf of this wish, only for the wish to come true for and be temporary in that sense of it, because it's not something that lasted barely anything. um we don't necessarily have a timeline within the movie, but it didn't last long either, to put it like that. So it's like, was it really worth it for you to sacrifice these lives for the one wish you wanted, only for the wish to really not come true in the end? That makes sense, because at the same time, this is not Nikki falling in love with him. This is the one wish Willow basically influencing her. So it's not really her falling for him. So did your wish really come true to begin with? I feel like it raises a lot of questions in that end of it. And that how the other people were involved in the innocent lives that were basically involved in this because of him, versus like you have Sarah, who's his coworker, who is really in love with him, but he's not really noticing her because he has his eyes on Nikki. Versus if he would have noticed Sarah, it would have been so different at the end for him and everybody else too.
Hmm.
um so I think that's what in the end made me feel like he's more of like the guilty party here. The fact that he sacrificed his life and then two other people's lives, and then who knows what happened to her at the end, because we don't see what happens later on with her either. So it's like you have sacrificing all these lives for one wish that didn't really come true in the end. So was that really worth it? That's the big question for me.
Yeah, and it's funny that they work in a music store as well too, because right away with the type of plot that comes to mind, it starts reminding me of the song. It's an old classic rock song called "Love Stinks," where the lines actually are, "He loves her, but she loves this guy right here, and he loves somebody else, and you just can't win." I'm thinking with that
Okay.
relation to the music store, that just
Hmm.
kept coming in mind for me. It also made me think of the movie, or not the movie, sorry, the play by William Shakespeare, Twelfth Night, with the whole idea of,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this isn't disguising yourself to try to make someone fall for you or anything like that, but it becomes kind of that
Hmm.
situation where you're trying to make people fall for you when they're clearly not there for you in the first place. So some of those things that came up, but this is
Hmm.
a very interesting movie in terms of the review aggregate on it as well too. So now a lot of the times we'll see when it comes too. So completely on par with one another in terms of those ratings, which I find very unique and very interesting that everybody across the board seems to be pretty much on board that this is one of the strongest horror movies, not only of 2026, but at least of the last decade.
Yeah, I would say definitely stronger than I thought it was gonna be. I had seen, but just by seeing the trailer, I wasn't sure how to take the movie. But I'm the kind of person that I want to give it a try at least. So once I saw the movie, I was like, I want to give it a try, even before the bus started happening. I think the other thing that really brought my attention to the movie was, like I said, the marketing with like the phone number, because a lot of people started seeing billboards with the phone number before the movie came out. And I like the fact that with the marketing, it's like you text the number and the number started texting you once, and then all of a sudden that it's second, third time, and they started texting you multiple times during the day. So the people were like, wow, this is really creepy how like the character Nikki is coming to life within the text messages that I get here. Because at first it's kind of quiet, but then you get all these text messages. And I started seeing that more than anything on Twitter. So that got my attention as well. And I like the fact that that's what really brought my eyes to it. And even after watching it, I like the fact that I'm still getting content about it online. And I'll take anything. I'll take all the interviews I can watch from the cast and everything, and just seeing their point of view on it and seeing them all watch this movie that be the success it is, because they were not expecting this to begin with.
Yeah, the online campaign behind this has been phenomenal, and the fact that they've done this without the big budget campaigns, television commercials all over the
Hmm.
place, and stuff that you'll see from the bigger
Hmm.
budget films, I think it's remarkable. My next question is there's been a lot of great movies in 2026, especially horror movies. Is this your favorite so far, or has anything been a little bit better than Obsession?
I'm trying to think back of what we've seen so far. I think I don't want to say it's my favorite because we're still halfway through the year.
Well, so
But
as so far, we'll say so far, six
yeah, I
months
was
in.
gonna say I don't want to say it's my favorite one, but I would say it's definitely like at least my top five of like movies so far this year. Because it's one
Okay.
that, like I said, is like I watched it, I enjoyed it, I'm still consuming media for it even after the movie's done. And I'm so still like intrigued by it. It's something that we're still talking about as we're talking about now, even after watching it. So I feel like something that is still you think about even when you're done with the movie. And to me, that's when you know you've made a great movie when people are still talking about it. Days, even weeks or months after the movie has been released. And I think they really did that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. It's one of the top ones for sure. I mean, which is tough because I've seen a lot of great horror movies. Like, and I'm not just talking movies in
Hmm.
general. I'm talking horror
Hmm.
movies across the board, and even this one, it's right up there for me. It's very close in proximity. I would debate between this and the back rooms, but then even there's other horror movies that are very, very close to that for me as well, too. Like they're teetering there. But I think in terms of overall performance, this movie will steal the show. If there's any movie that I think could be up at award season, it's definitely this one. Um, but yeah, I would say Backrooms, I only think personally is just a little bit more
Hmm.
intriguing as a little bit of a mind trip for me.
Hmm.
Um, but this one, in terms of like just a general creepy, well done, thought out
Hmm.
horror film, this one is A plus in my opinion, and I recommend keep going to see it. People, it's making tons of money, and I love seeing it. Just keep going, flood the theaters, keep backing them, show people
Yeah.
that you don't have to spend big budgets to make great films that people want to see. So,
Yeah.
any final
And I
thoughts on Obsession?
Yeah, I was gonna say my major thing with this is, and I mentioned it to Jamie as we were doing Taking Over last night too. Is like I love the fact that we're getting a horror movie outside of that horror like the period that I call it, the between the September and October period. And I like the fact that it's not being released anywhere near that, those months, and it's still being successful. Like it shows that you don't have to release your movie around that time to make it a success. As long as it's a horror movie and you have the marketing, you're promoting it and people go see it, you'll be fine. And I like seeing that aspect of it, the fact that it's out of that usual like Halloween horror thriller kind of period, and it's still doing very well in the movie theaters that people are still talking about it. So I love seeing that, to basically shut people up and let them know you can release a whole movie anytime during the year. We'll go watch it. Trust me. What we will.
Yeah. Yeah. Flood those theaters, spend your money, get in there, check out Obsession. Great recommendation from the both of us. But that's it for this review. Astrid, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you and what you got coming up next?
You can find me, I was to say every other Tuesday doing Taking Over with Ed. By the time this is released, we'll have one on the channel there as well with Jamie as we're watching WSW from Australia. So we need to have an Aussie with us to help us out during this review. Other than that, you can find me on my Twitter, which is Astrid Pizarro, and my Instagram and threads is Astrid Pizarro20.
There you go. As for myself, Bobby Munson, you can catch me below at the ticker. That's where all my socially things are. You can find me here on the channel on Sundays, 11 a.m. Eastern time with Andre, doing our week of sports review on Point of View. Thursday nights with Pop Smokes, we're talking about either history of pro wrestling or indie pro wrestling. Got a couple of great shows on tap here coming up for you there. And you can also catch me every Saturday on the Prairie Pro Wrestling YouTube channel as part of the commentary team, along with Pop Smokes. And every chance we get, bringing you great reviews here on Killer Cuts. And maybe let us know in the comments section, what did you think of Obsession, and what horror movie out there that we haven't covered would you like to see us cover? Maybe you've got some obscure movie from long ago that we need to search out and find and review for you. Let us know. But you can do that by checking out OLE Podcasts here on YouTube and on Twitch, where we are partner on both. You can go ahead and do super chats. You can do super stickers, follow, subs, all those wonderful things help us out. If you're watching this on a mobile phone, you pick up that mobile phone, head on over to YouTube. You have these things called hype points. You get 3 a week that you can share with your favorite creators on specific channels like ours. Astrid and I would really love the opportunity for you to share your hype points right here with Killer Cuts. Get us up that ladder. Let's get more of the horror community in the chat talking about our favorite horror movies. As always, we appreciate every single one of you. Thanks for being here today, and we'll